So today we're going to talk about superlatives and comparatives. We are going to remember some of the rules, okay? For example, here I have two sentences. This car is certainly better, but it is much more expensive. And the other, I have three sisters. Jan is the oldest and Angela is the youngest. In which of these sentences are we using superlative and comparatives? And how do you recognize this?
Superlative is the first sentences.
This is a superlative?
Yes.
Okay, how do you know that? How do you recognize the superlative?
It's comparative.
It's comparative, right? How do you recognize the comparatives?
In comparative, use ER.
Yes, when we use comparatives, generally we have ER at the end of the adjective and more before long adjectives, right? What about the next one? How do you recognize superlatives?
Use EST.
Yes, we have EST at the end of the adjectives, right? And the too. Okay, so here we have comparatives, and in the second sentence we have superlatives. So we are going to remember a little bit about these rules, how we form this rule, these adjectives, okay? Let's see here. What is the most important part when we use comparatives? What do you think is the most important element for when we form comparatives? What do you think? And superlatives, it's exactly the same element. What do you think is the most important element when we want to form comparatives and superlatives? What do you think?
When we are using when we are talking about comparative, we use the.
Okay, we use than. Is this the most important element?
Um,
It's one of the important elements, but remember that we can't have a comparative or a superlative if we don't have an adjective. Okay, so we need an adjective to form comparatives and superlatives. So this is the most important thing. Of course, both of them have their characteristics, right? So let's see. We are going to use some adjectives, for example, cold, cute, big, happy, and beautiful to form or to remember a little bit about the rules that we use for comparatives and superlatives, okay? So here we have the first adjective, cold, okay? Do you remember the first rule we use for comparatives? How do we change this adjective to the comparative form?
We add ER.
ER, right?
Yeah.
Yes, very good. Okay, see, when we have an adjective that has only one syllable, as cold, okay, we need to add ER. And we say colder. And also, as your partner said, we need than, colder than, okay? And what about for the superlative form? How can we form the superlative of cold?
The coldest.
oldest.
Yes, very good. So we can say the coldest. Okay, the only thing we need to use is the before the adjective and est at the end, right? What is the difference between the comparative and the superlative? When do we use the comparative? When do we use the comparative and when we can use the superlative? What do you think?
Comparative, compare just
When you need
two
compare.
things.
Mm-hmm. And the superlative?
Mm,
When you need
more than just two things,
More than two things. Yes. Okay, very
or
good.
in general.
Mm-hmm. Yes. We use the comparatives to compare just two things, two people, two objects, two animals, maybe. Okay? To compare only two things. And the superlative, we compare one thing with the rest of the same group. Okay? For example, let's talk about cities in Bolivia. We are going to compare one of the cities with the rest of the cities in Bolivia. In which of the cities in Bolivia we can use this superlative? The coldest. What can we say? How can we use this superlative to talk about one of the cities here in Bolivia?
El Alto is the coldest city in Bolivia.
Okay. Yes, we can say El Alto. Is El Alto a city? Or is a, because it's La Paz, I guess it's a city, right?
Yes.
But they have major.
They have a major? Okay.
Yes.
Okay. We can say El Alto is the coldest place in Bolivia, or the coldest city in Bolivia. Okay, very good. And what about this one? Colder than. We are going to compare only two cities here in Bolivia. What can we say? Only two cities.
La Paz is colder than Santa Cruz. Could be.
La Paz is colder than Santa Cruz. So we are comparing just two cities. But in this one, we are comparing El Alto with the rest of the cities that we have in Bolivia. Okay?
Teacher.
Yes?
Para decir la más alta, the highest.
The highest. Very good. So then we have this one, cute. When we have an adjective, how many syllables do we have in cute? How many syllables?
Two.
Two. What is the first one? What is the first syllable?
Q.
And the second?
Key.
No, we have only one syllable. Remember that we don't count the syllables according to the written form. We count the syllables according to the sound. For example, cute. We don't have key wood, right? Cute is only one syllable, the same as cold, only one, right? But happy is different because we have happy, two syllables, right? So we count according to the sound, not to the written form, okay? So when we have an adjective with only one syllable, but this adjective finishes in E, what do we need to do? What can we do here to transform this adjective that finishes in E to the comparative form? What can we do? Anybody?
The rule is aument the R.
Yes, we need to add an R. We don't need to add an E because we have the E here, right? The only thing we have to do is to add an R. Okay, so cuter than. This is the comparative. Can you give me an example using this comparative, comparing two things? Cuter than. What can we say? Any ideas?
My dog is cuter than your cat.
My dog is cuter than your cat. Okay, yes, could be. Yes. Then we have the superlative. What is the superlative form of cute? What can we say?
The cutest.
The cutest. Yes, very good. The cutest, right? I want you to give me an example with the cutest, comparing one thing with the rest of the same group. What can we say? Any ideas?
I have the cutest dog in the neighbor.
Okay, very good. You are comparing
The
your
neighborhood.
dog with the other dogs in the neighborhood, right? Very good. My dog is the cutest dog in the neighborhood. Very good. And what
Teacher,
about
podría ser
yes?
también así, digamos, un ejemplo. Britney Spears como, is the cutest the other singers.
Okay. Yes. It's the cutest singer. You can say Britney Spears is the cutest singer. Y ahí ya suponemos que es la más tierna de todas las cantantes.
Entonces ya no sé, ya no haría falta poner la otra oración como para especificarlo más, ¿no?
Ya no haría falta. Okay. Then we have the next adjective that is big. How many
Teacher.
syllables do we? Yes.
Teacher, one question. No sé si esta oración está bien. Potosí is smaller than Santa Cruz. ¿Está bien?
Okay. How many syllables do you have in modern, Oscar?
¿Me lo puede repetir? No lo escuché.
How many syllables do you have in the adjective modern?
Smaller. One?
Smaller?
Yes, smaller. Más
Small.
pequeño.
I listened modern. Yes, it's correct. It's smaller than Santa Cruz. Very good.
Okay, teacher.
Mhm.
Thanks.
So small is in this group, right? The adjectives with only one syllable. Okay, so how many syllables do we have in big?
One.
Only one, right? But what is the difference between this adjective and the others? What do you think is the difference? Because cold has only one syllable, cute has only one syllable, and this one, what is the difference between big and the others?
It's
When
more
you
short.
when you have a vowel and a consonant, you have to volver a poner the consonant and
Okay.
the
Mhm.
We
and
need to
the
add
ER.
the same consonant.
Double G and ER.
Yeah.
R.
Okay, very good. Yes, you are right. When we have a consonant, vowel, and consonant in an adjective, the only thing we need to do is to double the consonant. Okay? So we need to double the last consonant and add ER. Okay? And we have bigger than. Okay, so we can say bigger than or the biggest, right? Can you give me an example with this comparative and this superlative? Bigger than and the biggest.
Santa Cruz is the biggest, bigger than Potosí.
Again, please.
The Santa Cruz is the biggest than Potosí. O sea, es más grande.
Ok, si usted quiere decir es más grande que, tiene que utilizar esta, el comparativo. ¿Por qué? Porque solamente está comparando Santa Cruz con Potosí. Solamente dos ciudades. Entonces usted puede decir Santa Cruz is bigger than Potosí. ¿Ok? Pero si usted quiere comparar Santa Cruz con el resto de las ciudades de Bolivia, you can say Santa Cruz is the biggest city in Bolivia. Okay?
Okay, teacher, thanks.
Okay, then we have the next adjective, and we said that happy has 2 syllables, right? There is an exception here. We have happy with 2 syllables, but this adjective finishes in Y. Okay? So when we have an adjective with 2 syllables and this adjective finishes in Y, we need to change Y for I and add ER. We need to replace the Y for I and add ER. Okay, so happier than. And we can say the happiest for the superlative form. Can you give me an example with happier than or the happiest? Any idea?
Yes. Happy?
Again, please. Anybody? An example with happier than?
Hablando en vana, teacher. Happier than.
Yes.
How?
Anybody? No? Happier than. For example, we can say, I don't know, last year or on 19 or before the quarantine, before the COVID, I was happier than today. I don't know. Okay.
Teacher, podría ser my
Yeah.
neighbor is happier than with me. No sé.
My neighbor is happier than me. Yes, you can say that. And the happiest. What can we say about the happiest? Anybody else? Any ideas? Any sentences? The happiest. No?
My friend Camila is the happiest person that I know because she always is smiling.
Very good. Good example. Yes. Okay, then we have beautiful. Yes?
Listen, when I was a child, I was happier than now.
Very good. When I was a child, I was happier than now. Very good. Okay, what about beautiful? How many syllables do we have in beautiful?
3.
3, right? 3 syllables. Beautiful. So when we have adjectives with 2 or more syllables, recuerden que aquí tenemos 2 y 2, ¿cierto? Aquí también podemos ocupar este tipo de regla para los adjetivos que tienen 2 sílabas. La diferencia de este tipo de adjetivos con 2 sílabas es que terminan en Y. ¿Ok? Entonces tenemos que tener cuidado. Muchas veces he escuchado more easy. ¿Ok? Pero si seguimos esta regla, easier than sería el comparativo de easy. Porque en easy tenemos 2 sílabas y termina en Y. ¿Ok? Entonces, easier than. Cuando tenemos un adjetivo con 2 sílabas, pero este adjetivo no termina en Y, y un adjetivo que tenga más de 2 sílabas, podemos ocupar more beautiful than or the most beautiful. Okay? So these are the rules that you have learned before in other levels, right? So today we are going to learn some other things. Before that, I want you to check the irregular comparatives and superlatives, because we can't add ed or est to these adjectives, okay? So what is the comparative form of good?
Better.
Better than, right? And the superlative?
Best.
Best.
the best. Okay, so we can use better than or the best. Here we have for bad, we have worst. Worse than, and for far, we can have farther than or farther than. Ambas se pronuncian igual, pero se escriben diferente. Esta es más utilizado en inglés británico. Okay? And we can say the best, the worst, the farthest, or the farthest. Okay? So these are some of the irregular comparatives and superlatives. And we have other uses of superlatives too. We are going to learn this. It says, that was the best of his sons. Okay, as you can see in this sentence, we are using superlative. And here we have another sentence, that was his best song. Which of these sentences do you think is correct?
The second.
The second?
Yes.
Okay, both are correct. And this one too, that was by far the best song. So we can use the superlative form in different ways. Okay, we can use the superlative with a possessive. His best song or her best, I don't know, performance. Okay, and we can use also by far, que significa por mucho la mejor de sus canciones. That was by far the best of his songs, or the best song. Okay. Y luego, esto es cuando ocupamos by far, estamos mostrando una gran diferencia, ¿cierto? De una de sus canciones con el resto de sus canciones. Por mucho fue la mejor de sus canciones, ¿ok? O la mejor canción. Luego, cuando queremos mostrar una pequeña diferencia entre lo que estamos comparando, podríamos utilizar los modifiers, que enseguida los vamos a ver. Luego de los modifiers, utilizamos los comparative adjectives. ¿Ok? Y estos son los modifiers que podríamos utilizar. Slightly, que significa una pequeña diferencia. Slightly, or we can say a little, a bit, a little bit. These are some of the words that we can use before comparative adjectives to show a small difference, okay? And we can also say not much. For example, the number of registrations has been slightly lower than we expected. Okay, so slightly lower than. As you can see, I am showing here a small difference. Imagine that we expected 100 registration, but only 90 or 95 persons registered themselves. So it's slightly lower than we expected. Slightly lower, okay? Then we have the other one. Houses in the city are not too much expensive than apartments. So we can say not too much. Imagine that a house costs about, I don't know, $100,000, okay? And an apartment costs, I don't know, $85,000. So it's not a big difference, it's a small difference. Not much more expensive than. Entonces recuerden, cuando tenemos estos modifiers, podemos ocupar un comparativo luego de ellos para mostrar que la diferencia es pequeña. ¿Ok? Any questions? I want you to use these modifiers with any comparative adjective to describe anything or to compare anything with a small difference. Okay, think in your examples. You can use any of these modifiers with any comparative adjectives to describe to describe things and show a small difference. What can you say? Any ideas? You can compare, I don't know, animals, places, people. What do you think, guys? TV shows, movies.
Maybe dogs are not much more beautiful than cats.
Okay, are not much much more beautiful than cats. Okay, yes, very good. You can say that. Any other ideas? It means your sentence means that dogs are more beautiful than cats, but not too much, not much beautiful than them. Okay?
Teacher, ¿me puede explicar qué significa slide? ¿A qué se refiere?
Lightly. All of them have the same meaning. Un poquito significa.
Ah, ok.
A little, a little bit, not much. Todos significan exactamente lo mismo. Solo que aquí tenemos diferentes alternativas para utilizar. Any other idea?
Maybe
Yes?
my house is a bit smaller than my grandparents' house.
My grandparents' house. Very good. Yes. Good. Okay, this is to show small differences. Okay? Let's go to the big differences. When we want to show big differences, we can do the same. Use modifiers and then the comparative adjectives. For example, we can use much, so much, a lot, even, and far. We can use any of them to show big difference, okay? For example, sales in July were a lot higher than sales in June. Okay, we can have another example. He was far less experienced than the other applicant. Ok, entonces aquí estamos mostrando una enorme diferencia. Significa que en julio vendimos mucho más que en junio. Ok, las ventas de julio fueron mucho más altas que las ventas de junio. Y aquí lo mismo. Él era o él estaba mucho menos, aquí sería, mucho menos, o él era mucho menos experimentado que el otro aplicante. Okay? So can you think in your examples showing big difference?
Teacher, the music in English is much better than in Spanish.
Okay, you can say that. Music in English is much better than music in Spanish. Yes. Any other ideas?
You look a lot smaller in your only photo.
You look a lot smaller than
in your online photo or your Facebook photo.
profile photo.
Okay.
Yes. Yes, you look a lot smaller than in your Facebook profile photo. Yes, yes, could be. Smaller in about the height or about the age? ¿Está hablando de la estatura o de la edad?
Estatura.
Okay, okay, very good. Okay,
Miss,
yes,
how can we use even?
even. Okay, even is the same. Even, enseguida se los voy a mostrar. Even, it's even, por ejemplo, sales in July were even higher than sales in June. It's exactly the same. To show a big difference, we can use even. Even higher than sales in June. And we can say here exactly the same using even. He was even less experienced than the other applicant. Okay? Exactly the same use. Okay, then we have here, we are going to use these comparatives and superlatives. It says two things are the same. When we want to say that two things are the same, and when we want to say that two things are different, we can use as, an adjective, and as. Okay? Or we can say just as, an adjective, and as. For example, this just es para enfatizar. Si ustedes quieren enfatizar que de verdad son idénticos, pueden utilizar just. For example, your sister is just as smart as you. Tu hermana es tan inteligente como tú. Okay? So just as smart as you. And then we have two things are different. We use not. The only difference is that we need to use not. Not as, adjective, and as. My computer is not as new as yours. Mi computadora no es tan nueva como la tuya. Okay? Can you formulate some sentences using things like this? As, adjective, and as, to say that two things are the same, and not as, adjective, and as, to say that two things are different. What can you say? For example, I can say, I am not as tall as my sister. No soy tan alta como mi hermana. What can you say? Any ideas?
Maybe my brother is not as organized as me.
My brother is not as organized as me. Very good. Any other ideas?
Maybe my cell phone is not as expensive as you.
Very good. My cell phone is not as expensive as yours.
For example, teacher, my sis or my sister just has the same character as my mom.
Okay. We need to use an adjective, right? ¿Cómo puede describir con un adjetivo el carácter de su mamá?
Patient.
Ok, entonces usted puede decir, my sister is just as patient as my mom. Ok, entonces sí o sí necesitamos un adjetivo para formar este tipo de oraciones. Just as patient as my mom. Ok. Very good. Good examples, guys. So we are going to do the exercise here. As you can see, in all of them, we are using this kind of comparatives. Okay. Let's go to the next part. It says, which sentences are comparatives and which sentences are superlatives? What do you think? Comparatives. Which of them are in the comparative form?
Comparative number 3 and superlative 1, 4, and 6.
Number 3. Any other comparative? No?
2, 5, and 6.
2. Number 5. Okay. We are comparing here.
Number 6.
6. Okay. Yes, we can say 6. And then we have the superlatives. As your partner said, we have here in the first one, number 1 and number 4, right? What about the next question? Number 2. Which comparative form means that two things are the same? Two things are the same. Which of them?
Maybe 3 and 6. I don't know.
3 and 6.
2 and 5.
Yes, 2, porque tenemos as big as. 5, as expensive, pero aquí dice isn't as expensive as. Entonces, esta no sería, ¿cierto? Solo la número 2. Okay. Then we have the other. Which word and phrase in italic means a lot? Which word means a lot?
With
1
expensive.
and 3.
By far, very good, by far. And 3, far. Very good. And which of these words mean a little? Means a little.
Slightly.
Slightly, very good. Slightly. Any other? No,
Just this.
just this one, right? Very good. Okay, let's move on. Here we have some other examples. Comparatives, two things. Okay, remember that when we use comparatives, we only talk about two things. Please, Yesarel, can you read the examples of comparatives here?
That apartment is slightly bigger than ours. Our new sofa is far from more comfortable. Jack's apartment is less spacious than our house.
Okay,
Your kitchen is as big as Robert's.
very good. So what are we comparing here? In the first sentence, we are comparing that apartment with our apartment, right? In the second sentence, we are comparing the new sofa with the old sofa. In sentence number 3, we are comparing Jack's apartment with our house. And in the last sentence, we are comparing your kitchen with Robert's kitchen. ¿Ok? Y como pueden ver aquí en los comparativos, utilizamos estas diferentes formas de comparativos. ¿Ok? Por ejemplo, cuando decimos slightly, ¿qué queremos decir? Slightly.
Small.
¿Es como de a poco o no?
Again?
When have small difference.
When it has a small, well, these two things have a small difference, right? When we say far, what does it mean? Far?
Big difference.
A big difference. What about less? Less spacious than.
Yes.
It's the opposite of more. right? Es lo opuesto a more. Generalmente nosotros explicamos los comparatives y ponemos more spacious than. Cuando el adjetivo es largo, spacious, ocupamos more, ¿cierto? Pero less es lo opuesto, menos espacioso que. More, más espacioso que. ¿Ok? Entonces, en este caso es menos espacioso que. Y luego utilizamos aquí as, que significa
The same.
the same. Very good. And then we have the superlatives form here when we compare 3 or more things. Ya no comparamos 2 cosas, sino más de 2 cosas. Okay? Please, Avila, can you read the examples here?
Of superlatives.
Yes, please.
Okay. This is the nicest present I've ever received. Received. It's one of the most expensive cities in the world. This is part the least fashionable part of town.
Okay. So, as you can see in these examples, we are comparing this present with all the other presents I've received. Okay, estoy comparando este regalo con todos los regalos que he recibido. In the next one, I am comparing this city with the rest of the cities in the world. And I am comparing this part with the rest of the parts in this town. ¿Ok? Entonces comparamos una cosa con el resto del mismo grupo. Luego it says, we can use slightly for a small difference and far for a big difference. This is something we saw before, right? We can use by far to emphasize a superlative. Recuerden que estos dos se utilizan con comparatives y by far se utilizan con superlatives. ¿Ok? So, let's practice a little bit this. Let's go to page 119. And we are going to do exercise number 1. Complete the sentences with the words in parentheses. Use the correct form of adjectives. Okay, so you need to use the superlative or the comparative. Add any other words you need. So I'm going to give you some minutes so you can complete this. And then we are going to check together. So let's see the first one. Number 1. Please, number 1 is for Ronald. The bed in my hotel room is...
The bed in my hotel room is just a little comfortable as my bed at home.
Just?
Yes, just a little.
A little?
Comfortable.
Like this? Ok. Recuerdes, Ronald, que aquí tenemos as. Right? Entonces, si tenemos as al final, al principio también debemos utilizar as. Entonces sería just as comfortable as my bed at home. Ok. Just as comfortable as my bed at home. Recuerde que esta palabra, la fuerza de voz va en la primera sílaba. Comfortable. Casi no se pronuncia la for. Ok. Thank you. Let's go to number 2. Camila, please, number 2.
The most expensive apartments are downtown.
Okay, very good. The most expensive apartments are downtown. The next one, please, Daniel.
Okay. Jamie's new car isn't as big as his old one.
Okay, isn't as big as his old one. Very good. Number 4, please, Cristel.
Susan lives in one of nicest part of town.
In one of,
Most nice.
nice, like this. No cambia nada.
Most nice.
One of most. ¿Así?
Yes, teacher.
Okay. How many syllables does nice have, Cristel?
One.
One. Entonces, ¿cómo transformamos los que tienen una sílaba para que sea el superlativo? Una sílaba.
Nicest.
Ok. Y no se olvide del de, que siempre debe ponerlo para los superlativos. Ok. Entonces, ¿cómo sería? Susan
Lives in one of the nicest part of town.
very good. The nicest part of town. Let's go to the next one, please. Sebastián Ávila, number 5.
Okay. Learning Spanish isn't as difficult as learning Japanese.
Isn't as difficult as learning Japanese. Very good. No se olvide que aquí no empieza con una E, sino con una S. Learning Spanish. Okay. Very good. Thank you. Let's go to the next one. Karen, please, number 6.
It's one of the funniest books I've ever read.
I've ever?
Read.
Are you sure?
Read.
Read.
No,
Right?
read. Okay.
I've
Thanks.
ever read. Very good. Fernando, number 7, please.
Miami is a lot of farm from New York and from Washington, D.C.
One more time, please. Miami is?
Well, Miami is Miami is a lot of far from New York and from Washington, D.C.
Like this? Yes?
A lot of far.
A lot. A lot. Like this?
Maybe, teacher. No llegué a esa parte.
Ok. Recuerde que a lot of no lo podemos utilizar en este tipo de oraciones, porque a lot of es un quantifier, no es un modifier. Ok. Solamente utilizamos a lot. No necesitamos for or of, sorry. And far tiene que estar en la forma de comparativo. ¿Cuál es la forma comparativa de far, Fernando? ¿Cómo transformamos far en un comparativo?
Farthest.
Comparativo.
Es farther.
Can you spell the word? F-A-R.
Yeah. F-A-R. Father. F-A-R.
R. T.
H-E-R.
E-R. Farther. Farther. Okay. Yes. Farther. Miami is a lot farther from New York than from Washington. Very good. Let's go with Mariana. Number 8, please.
In January, Rio de Janeiro is usually slightly hotter than Buenos Aires.
Slightly what?
hotter, hotter than Buenos Aires.
Okay, slightly hotter than, right? Very good, slightly hotter than. And the last one, please, Oscar. Number 10. Oh, no, it's not the last one, right? Number 9, Oscar.
Teacher, ¿me escucha?
Yes.
Ya. Podría bajar un poquito más el teacher, ¿verdad?
Number 9.
Ocho. Teacher, ¿me escucha?
Yes. Number 9, please.
Okay, that was it's the most far game I've ever seen.
One more time, please.
That was the most by far game I've ever seen.
Not exactly, no. Natalia, number 9, please.
That was by far worst game I've ever seen.
By far.
Worst.
¿Esto es comparativo o superlativo?
Superlativo.
Worst. Ok.
No sé si es worst o the worst.
De. Eso le iba a corregir. Siempre, siempre, siempre cuando estemos utilizando superlativos, siempre debemos utilizar de. The worst. ¿Ok? By far,
Okay.
the worst. A ver, the worst game I've ever seen. Okay. Let's go with a boy. Sebastián, please. Abudine.
Okay, teacher. Mexican food is a lot spicier than British food.
Very good. It's a lot spicier than British food. A lot spicier than. Very good. Any questions about these exercises? Any doubts?
Teacher, en comparatives siempre se usa el than, ¿no? Al final.
Yes.
Creo que en la 7 no habíamos puesto el than Miami.
Aquí tiene Dan. From New
Yes, I
York,
mean.
Dan.
Yes. Okay, thanks.
Any other questions? Okay, very good. So let's do the next one. Number 2. Complete the second sentence so they mean the same as the first sentences. Okay? I'm going to give you some minutes so you can do it.
Okay,
So,
John is the same as James.
okay, when we are talking about two things that are the same, what do we use? Remember?
As.
An adjective,
no.
as, right?
Okay. So just is the same tall as James.
No, no necesitamos utilizar the same. Solamente necesitamos utilizar as. An adjective, an as. ¿Cuál sería el adjetivo en esta oración que debemos utilizar?
Tall.
Tall, right? Very good.
John is tall as James.
One more time.
John is tall as James.
As tall as James. No se olvide el as del principio. As, luego un adjetivo, tall, y luego del adjetivo también necesitamos utilizar as. As tall as.
Okay.
Very good. Let's go with the next one. Please, Daniel.
This restaurant is much better than the other city. This is by a bit in town.
Again, please.
This is by bit in town.
Okay, let's read the sentence. This restaurant is much better than the others in town. So we are comparing one restaurant with the rest of the restaurants in the town, right? So this is by, aquí dice much better. ¿Qué significa eso? By, cuando describimos una gran diferencia, by.
Much better. Much better.
By far.
By far.
By far.
By far, Daniel. Cuando ocupamos by far, ocupamos comparativo o superlativo. What do you think?
By far the best.
Okay, I am talking with Daniel. Okay, so please, guys. Yes, by far the best. Recuerde que siempre cuando ocupamos by far, ocupamos la forma de superlativo. Okay, by far the best restaurant. In town. Let's go to the next one, please. Number 3, my new phone was much more expensive than my laptop. My laptop was, Mariana?
My laptop was so much expensive than my new phone.
Ok, veamos la primera oración, analicémosla. Tenemos acá new cell phone y estamos comparándolo con la laptop. ¿Cuál de los dos es más caro en la primera oración, Mariana?
The phone.
The phone. Pero aquí la laptop está de primero, entonces, ¿qué podríamos decir? My laptop was...
More.
Mariana, please, guys. My laptop was... Mónica? My laptop was...
Less.
But it's not just less, it's much less. Mucho menos cara, ¿cierto? Entonces sería much less expensive. ¿Y aquí?
Than.
Than, right? Very good. Much less expensive than my new phone. Mucho menos cara, mucho menos costosa. The next one. The class tomorrow starts at 10 past 9, instead of the usual time of 9:15 or quarter past 9. So we can say the class tomorrow starts at, Karen?
The class tomorrow starts a little earlier than usual.
Very good. A little earlier than usual. A little earlier than usual. Very good. The next one, please. Ronald, this is the cheapest watch I could find. This watch is the...
I'm so sorry, teacher, I didn't do it.
Okay, anybody with number 5? This watch is the...
Maybe less expensive.
Less?
Less.
Anybody? ¿Cuál es el superlativo de less? Can you spell the word, Fernando?
Yeah. L E A ST.
This word doesn't, well, a ver. Yes, this watch is the least. Ok, siempre que cuando hagamos el superlativo, the less is least. The least expensive I could find. Okay. Number 6, I've never seen a nicer beach before. What can we say in the next one, Camila? I guess Camila's internet.
You can see the internet.
Yes. Natalia?
I've never seen a nicer beach before. This is nicer beach that I've seen.
Ok, ¿qué estamos comparando aquí en esta oración? En la primera, la número 6. Natalia.
The beach.
¿The beach? ¿Con qué? ¿Con qué lo estamos comparando?
Okay, I understand. This is the nice beach that I've seen. Is a superlative.
Very good. This is the nicest.
Nicest.
Beach. This is the nicest beach I've ever seen, right? Very good. Karim, please, number 7. The last movie, his last movie is funnier than this one.
This movie, I'm not sure I put by far funny as his last one.
But in the first sentence, we don't have much more funny or something like this, que nos diga que es una gran cantidad, una gran diferencia, ¿cierto? Anybody else with number 7?
This movie is not funny.
Again, please.
This movie is not funny.
I think this movie is not as funny as his last one.
Very good. Isn't, right? Or is not as. Isn't, recuerda que el negativo viene antes del as. Okay? Isn't as funny as his last one. And the last one. Jill and Maura are sisters. Maura is 19 and Jill is 18. Jill is, what can you say, guys, here? Jill is
younger than her sister.
Younger than.
Abudine?
Slightly younger than her sister.
Very good. La oración que me dijo anterior alguien estaba correcta, pero no se olvide que la diferencia de edad es pequeña. Entonces, podríamos decir slightly younger than. ¿O qué otro adjetivo, qué otro modifier podríamos utilizar? Slightly younger than, what else?
A little.
A little. Any other?
A bit.
A bit. Okay, so we can use any of the ones that express the small difference. Okay? Very good. Any questions from these exercises here? Okay, good. So let's continue. Let's go back.
Espera, una consulta.
Yes?
Solo pasar en 8 no se podía hacer as young as her sister, ¿no?
No, porque no es tan joven como su hermana, es un año mayor. Entonces no tienen la misma edad. Si ambas tuviesen la misma edad, sí podría ser. Pero no serían hermanas, ¿cierto? A no ser que sean gemelas.
Okay, thanks.
Entonces, el as younger as tiene que ser la misma edad para indicar que algo es lo mismo, ¿ok? Aquí hay una pequeña diferencia de edad. Okay, let's go back to the page 35.